All right, and welcome back, guys. This video is actually going to serve multiple purpose. The first thing we're going to do is rank every single LMG currently in Cold War. We're going to be ranking them from worst to best. Then we're going to give different attachment setups for each and every LMG, multiple of them, kind of showing what attachments you want to use in different scenarios. And this is also going to help you decide if you're currently grinding for Plague Diamond or Dark Aether LMGs, which ones you want to pick, because in Cold War you actually don't have to just do the base weapons. You can substitute DLC weapons for some of the base ones. So if you're looking for what weapon list to go for and get gold to get the Dark Aether camo, just choose the best ones in this list to pick for that. And now here we are loaded into game. Obviously, before I can test these out, we've got to go get all the weapons out of the box and kind of test them out. My goal is to test them out all in the same game. Hopefully we get some decent box luck. While I'm doing that, opening up the map, pack a punch, all that good stuff. If you're new here, want to sub, I would greatly appreciate it. Our goal is to hit 175,000 subs before Vanguard launches. And on top of that, I get to give an absolutely massive thanks to everyone who leave a like, comment, and watch this video in its entirety. Those three things help me and my channel out greatly. And one last thing, we're starting off with the LMG category because it's fairly small and easy to cover, so it's a nice starting point. And on top of that, we recently just got meta changes for both the SMG and the AR category. So make sure to leave in the comments below which section you want us to cover next. You want it to be snipers, ARs, rocket launchers. Definitely pick which class you want us to go a deep dive into for our next video in the series. So starting us off here in the number 4 slot is going to be the M60, clocking in at 63,000 damage per second. That's not the worst out of every gun in the game. There are some SMGs and some ARs that clock in a little bit lower DPS wise, but it's definitely the lowest out of all the LMGs. And I don't know, you can definitely notice when using the M60 that it's just not as strong as the other LMGs. We're on round 46 right now. This thing's fully maxed out, and some of the other LMGs on this round fully maxed out would just be absolutely shredding zombies. I'm a little disappointed with this because I've always wanted to use the M60 in zombies. Ever since Black Ops 1, the M60 got the short end of the stick. It was one of the few weapons. There was 3 weapons that were in MP that weren't in zombies, the M60 being one of them. And I don't know, I always wanted to use it, especially in Black Ops 1 where the LMGs were, one of the best weapon classes. It was a good day back then if you got an LMG out of the box. So I was a little disappointed that we never got to see the Black Ops 1 version of the M60, but at least they made up for it in this game. But it's not that great in zombies. It's definitely a usable weapon. All weapons are usable, but it's definitely the bottom end of the LMG class in this game. Now for the attachments, I recommend using on the M60, and we're going to take just a little bit longer to specifically go over the M60 attachments. I'm going to try to explain a few things because every time I do this, I get some questions why I choose certain attachment over others. So I'm going to try to make it as clear as possible. For the optic, I'm using the millistop reflex. This is really kind of subjective. Use whatever you like the most. It really doesn't matter too much. Now for the muzzle, pretty much every single weapon, I use the flash guard just because it does give you that increased equipment drop rate, but it doesn't give you any negative effects. I know these ones towards the bottom actually give you more equipment drop, but it really doesn't matter because this one, you're getting tons of drops on the ground already. I'm getting tons of stuns, Simtexes, all that stuff, and it's really not worth taking this additional hit to, get more of that. For the barrel, all the LMGs, I'm going to recommend the Division barrel because it does give you the same extra damage you get for the Task Force barrel, but it also gives you shooting move speed, which is massive for LMGs, and you don't get the same negative effects to the ammo capacity. Ammo capacity is one of the most important things in zombies, so you really don't want to get a negative effect to that, and it's giving you the same damage going with this barrel. For the body, in this one, I get a lot of questions on this, and this one kind of depends what you're doing. On lower rounds, the Ember sighting point is the best laser sight to have, but as you get to higher rounds, you kind of want to swap to this one, the SWAT laser sight, because hip fire is another thing that's extremely important in zombies, probably more important than ammo size, to be honest. It's probably the single most important statistic in zombies out of everything, and you get an additional 10% hip fire accuracy, which as you get to higher rounds and as you're maneuvering around zombies a lot more, this is going to be hands down better than the Ember sighting point. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll make 2 classes for a weapon. The one that I spawn in with will have the Ember sighting point, and once I get all the salvage I need and I've got everything upgraded, I'll switch to another class with this SWAT laser sight on it. However, you guys know blueprints are buggy right now, so that's really not an option. So for the most part, I'm just spawning in with this. Overall, if I could only pick and choose one, I'm definitely going to be using the SWAT one over the Ember sighting point, just because on higher rounds, it is definitely better. Then moving on to the underbarrel, and this one depends on what class you're using. For all the LMGs, I'm going to go with the Infiltrator Grip because you get plus 5% movement speed, plus 5 shooting speed, and plus 5 aim walking speed. I don't really care about this last one here, but these first two are really important. This one does give you plus 6 sprint moving speed, but I'd rather have the shooting move speed and the movement speed overall. This one does the same thing. It gives you a bunch of 3s here, but once again, I think the Infiltrator Grip's the best overall for what we're doing there. Moving on to the magazine, the reason I always pick the bottom one is because almost always this is going to give you the most DPS out of all the weapons. It's kind of the single best pick because it doesn't give you any negative effects to, you know, anything but ADS time, which isn't super important unless you're using a sniper in zombies, and it gives you the most benefit overall. It usually gives you one of the quickest reload times, doesn't always give you the biggest ammo count, but it's still going to make up for it in the additional DPS you're going to get. Then for the handle, this one, once again, I really don't want any negative effect to my sprint to fire time, so it rules off all 3 of these right to begin with. Flinch resistance, not going to really help you in zombies. Same thing, aim while going prone, unless you really want to drop shot zombies, not going to help you. So the speed tape's pretty much the only thing I use in this category for all weapons and zombies. Then moving on to the stock, and this is another one where there's really 2 different options depending on your playstyle. I will not use anything that does negative hip fire accuracy. This is the most important stat in zombies. You never want to do anything that's going to give you negatives towards it. So that automatically rules out these 3 options, leaving you with plus 5 slide speed, plus 15 sprint to fire time, and plus 40% aim walk movement speed. Like I said, I'm hip firing a lot, so this isn't really useful to me. The plus 15 sprint to fire time is huge for training, and the slide speed's also pretty good, and depending on what I'm doing, I go back and forth between the Duster stock and the Marathon stock. Both are very good. This one allows you to slide and dodge zombies a little bit easier. I definitely notice this in game while I'm using this. This one helps you a little bit more while you're training and constantly moving and shooting zombies. So if you're training, I'm going to recommend using the Marathon stock, but if you're kind of camping and planning on, you know, grinding for Dark Aether and something like that, I find myself using the Duster stock a lot because sliding is very powerful for maneuvering around zombies. Moving on to our next LMG, coming in at the number 3 spot, we are going to have the RPD. Now keep in mind, there are 4 LMGs in the game right now. You only have to get 3 of them done to unlock the Plague Diamond camo for the LMGs. So past this point, number 1, 2, and 3 is what you're going to want to get Golden Viper if you're trying to unlock the Dark Aether camo as quick as possible. I know I said Dark Aether, it's Dark Aether, I know that, but in this spot you can see here, this does quite a bit more damage than what the M60 does. This clocks in at 68,000 damage per second. And this is a higher round. We've gone up a couple rounds since the M60 clip, and you can noticeably see that we are killing even the Megaton quicker. We're killing everything quicker, even though the zombies have a higher health on this round we're on right now. Now for the class setup for the RPD, and we're gonna go through this one a lot quicker as it's pretty much gonna be the same. The optic, I'm using the mill stop reflex. For the muzzle, we're using the flash guard. The barrel, the division barrel. The body is the GRU 5mm. The underbarrel, the infiltrator grip. The magazine, once again, the bottom one. The handle is gonna be the speed tape, and the stock is going to be the wire stock. Now coming in at the number 2 spot, we have the Stoner. Once again, this was another LMG that was in Black Ops 1 that didn't make the cut for zombies. And honestly, I think the Stoner, if it was put in Black Ops 1 zombies, considering the stats it had in MP, probably would have been one of the single best weapons in that zombies game. It probably would have competed with the Gliel. The fast reload time, the ammo it had, and just the damage it put out. I'm really disappointed we didn't see it in zombies because it sucked. Like we said a few seconds ago, LMGs back then were one of the single best classes to use in zombies, and half the LMGs that existed back in Black Ops 1 didn't make it into zombies, but at least we now finally get to see it here in Cold War Zombies, and it really does perform well. It used to be the single best LMG in the zombies class until they started adding DLC weapons, and it might still have been the best, but unfortunately, like we've seen in Cold War, they like to nerf some of the weapons in zombies, and the Stoner did end up getting a nerf, and it did decrease the damage and stuff that it does by a little bit. And if it didn't get that nerf, it probably would still be in the number 1 spot because it does have a decent damage at 71,000 damage per second, which is a pretty decent amount. Like I said, that competes with some of the ARs and SMGs, definitely not with the M16 and other stuff like that. But it has a ton of ammo, really fun to use. And I know when the game first came out, this was a very meta weapon. A lot of people used it. It was extremely good at killing Orda for the longest time until, you know, the Orda kind of got reworked with one of the updates. Overall, still a very solid choice, a very good LMG to use. and I find myself using it from time to time, and it's the only LMG in this game that has a Mastercraft. It's not the best looking Mastercraft ever, but at least, you know, it has a Mastercraft. None of the other LMGs in this game have had the honor of having a cool looking variant yet. Here's the class setup for the Stoner, using the mill stop reflex. The muzzle is the flash guard, barrel is the division barrel, the body is the SWAT 5mm, the under barrel is the infiltrator grip, magazine is the bottom one, handles the speed tape, and the stock is the wire stock. So here we are finally at the #1 spot, and that is gonna have to go to the MG82. This is the only DLC LMG we have in Cold War. Out of all the, you know, DLC weapons we've got, mainly getting ARs and SMGs, we've only managed to get one of these so far, and I really do hope that, you know, before Vanguard comes out and Cold War's life cycle ends, I hope we get one more DLC LMG. This is definitely a class that could use a little bit of love, seeing how there's only, you know, 4 items in this class. But there are a multitude of reasons that this is coming in the #1 spot. Not only does this do the most damage per second in zombies out of any LMG, doing 73,000 damage per second, it also handles extremely well for training and even camping. The hip fire is so good on this weapon. This is my favorite LMG to just hip fire because it is super accurate. If we go into this horde here, look at, oh, well, not at that angle. Let's get him down here to a little bit more flat ground, but look at how many critical kills we're gonna get just going backwards, aiming at their head, hip firing. Really, really good hip firing. There is one downside to this weapon, and it is the ammo count. It only holds 600 bullets, but now that mule kick's in the game, if we're going to be perfectly honest, that's not really an issue. If we just walk back where we killed zombies, we're going to completely fill up this weapon because the ammo drops on the ground. Yep, look at that. Now completely back to full on the weapon with 3 ammo drops. So yeah, that is the one downside, but honestly, that's not really a downside. If we were to take this to round 100, we might occasionally have to buy ammo from the box, but it's really not going to be any sort of, you know, detriment to using this weapon. So it really seems to only be upsides. It is the best handling out of the LMGs for training, and it does the most damage per second. That's why I am giving it the #1 spot as it stands in Cold War Zombies. Obviously, this entire listing could change here with, you know, future DLC weapons, future buffs and nerfs, because, you know, they do like to buff and nerf things in zombies, unfortunately. Now, here's the class setup for the MG82, using the millistop reflex for the sight, the muzzle's the flash guard, barrel's the division barrel, body's the SWAT 5mm, under barrel's the infiltrator grip, magazine is this, or the bottom one, handle is the speed tape, and stock is the marathon stock. But everyone's personal list always differs depending on, you know, your play style and kind of how you handle weapons and different stuff like that. So leave your LMG list below. We'll see where we, you know, agree, differ, stuff like that. Let me know what class you want me to cover next. You want me to do the, you know, SMGs, the ARs, the snipers? What next class do you want me to go deep dive, rank them all, stuff like that? But I got to give a huge thanks to everyone who's watched this video and its entirety, especially if you guys left a comment or liked the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Real quick here at the end of the video, I want to thank everyone who's became a YouTube sub or a Twitch subscriber, and extra special thanks to everyone who became an Unlock Plus member on YouTube. We've got the man, the myth, the legend, Cryptic. We've got Hunter Reed Don Doe. We've got the man whose name should be really easy to pronounce, Yamasta. We've got the legend Sergeant CJ, the ETOL lawyer you don't cross Host. We've got the friend who always comes through, Drew. The DMCA claim waiting to happen, Snap. And then we've got Luke.